Hey guys, welcome back to the Franchise Tagged Podcast Season 2, Episode 4. Elijah, run them through what we got on the docket today.
Wow, you fumbled through it, but you somehow landed that. So starting off, we're gonna go over our pick'ems recap. Trigger warning: it's gonna be bad.
It's awful.
Then we're gonna go game by game, kind of breaking down some of the things we saw on Sunday, Monday, and a little bit on Thursday. We don't want to talk too much about that, I'm sure. Resident Patriots fan Gabe, per request. And then we're going to go into a fraud/stud segment. We'll kind of explain more of that once we get there. And then get into our next week pick'ems and our primetime breakdowns.
Absolutely. So we can start talking about the Thursday night game. I don't want to dwell on it too much. I will don the dunce cap for missing my lock of the week on the Patriots over the Jets. You will also don your dunce cap for missing your lock of the
for
week
the
of the Browns
for
over
the
the
game
Giants.
on Sunday morning. Yeah.
Good Lord. Truly awful weeks for both of us. We both actually realized like yesterday that we had the same exact picks, and we both went 6-10. Both picked the Patriots over the Jets, which didn't happen. Browns over Giants didn't happen. Got the Colts right. Got the Packers over the Titans. Got the Seahawks over the Dolphins. Got the Chiefs over the Falcons and the Bills over the Jaguars. Everything else was dead wrong. We will strive to do better, and I think that's all I want to dwell on for this recap of the Pick'em segment. I titled the last one "The NFL Week from Hell." It's becoming the NFL season from hell. This is awful. This is unpredictable. The games are not going as expected. Nothing is happening how we think it will. But we'll just have to live with it.
Yeah, so that we had the same record this week because we picked all of the same games, but that brings my year-long total to 22-26, and you're sitting at an even 24-24 on picks hitting versus missing, and then I'm 1-2 on my locks hitting, and you are 2-1. And with that, we can kind of dive deeper into the game-by-game recaps for this week. What did you see on Thursday, man?
Nothing, and that was the problem. Good Lord. Christian Gonzalez let up his first official touchdown of his career, which is, I mean, it's impressive that it took him this long. The pass was a throw that only Aaron Rodgers can make. So I'm not too pissed about that. He's still a stud. So shout out Gonzo, but he's basically the only bright spot on that whole team. We lost Jawan Bentley for the year, and our defense basically just crumbled after that happened. Offense, I mean, surprise, surprise, it sucks. It's not good. The offensive line sucked. Rookie left tackle, rookie left guard, I believe. Not a good combo, and we just weren't able to keep up with the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is looking like he's back to form, shaking the rust off in the first 2 weeks, and he's looking impressive. I'm not cynical, but I also understand that the Patriots were not poised for success this year. I thought they could be, and then the O-line was worse than expected.
They showed you something, and you got a little excited, and then it's kind of fallen to the wayside. I mean, at least against a return to form Aaron Rodgers. Like you're gonna stay in a lot more of these games throughout the year, hopefully, because they're not all gonna be against Aaron Rodgers.
Quality opponents are gonna be tough for us. Hopefully we can win some of the lower tier matchups, and I guess that's what I can expect for this season. Will Campbell, welcome to New England, I think I can say. But that's about all I got for that game. It was not pretty.
Yeah, another game that was not pretty. Houston has a problem. Its name is Larry Tunsil. This guy loves, okay, we'll get into penalties across the league. You know, it's a big issue. Larry Tunsil, specifically for Houston, I felt like every drive there was a penalty on him, and they threw up a stat of like, oh, well, since 2016, he has the most penalties of any. And that's like, okay, this is a problem that he's just had. It's not even related to the fact that refs are seemingly penalty happy this year. Yeah. It's just him. And when you're killing drives as an offensive lineman, that's kind of not great.
I will say.
And on the flip side.
Real quick, I didn't watch that game too much, but the fact that they lost by so much, I don't think it was entirely a Laramie Tunsil problem. I'm assuming that's what you're getting into with the Vikings just looking insane to start the year. Sam Darnold is the MVP candidate. What the fuck?
And even not on the offensive side, because the Vikings offensively, they are going off like no one really expected under Sam Darnold's, tutelage. Not really. That's not a good word for that. But under his lead.
Yeah.
But the defense to me is like last year it felt like I had kind of a hot take, I think, during the offseason where I said like Danielle Hunter was a product of the Vikings system and not independently as talented as he seemed. And, I guess they're really backing me up for that, I guess. They're letting me kind of ride this wave of their defense is good. They tried really hard to be really good last year, and I feel like they just didn't have the guys to run the scheme because, oh my God, the way Brian Flores just blitzes like the most exotic and unstoppable blitzes. Yeah, Danielle Hunter was going to play good, and they're just keeping this momentum going. Meanwhile, they're backing it up with really good quarterback play with, MVP level Sam Darnold.
The Jets, I mean,
short circuiting. This makes no sense.
I think I sent the tweet out. Let me find out real quick. I'm pretty sure I said it. I definitely thought it if I didn't say it. I said Zach Wilson is going to be playing at an MVP level for the Rams in 5 years. Mark my words. It might be less than 5. It might be like 2 years down the line.
Yeah, give it about
Stafford
2.
retires.
Yeah, we'll see him land there.
But
He's gonna go there after playing it at the Panthers. He'll make a stop at the Panthers, go to the Rams, and then he'll pop off.
the Panthers will make the trade this year. They'll send something for Zach Wilson this year. But yeah, the trash Jets QB to MVP candidate pipeline is truly a thing to behold.
Yes.
And I guess Panthers as well, because Baker. But
Yeah, Baker and Sam Darnold were there before they had him lining up at the end. Before he actually got an extension for a quarterback. Woohoo!
crazy.
Some other games that I saw, I had a lot of tape on my eyes because I was using my NFL Sunday Ticket free trial. Don't pay for that. But I had the free trial, so I was watching 4 games at one time, and that felt kind of cool. Not worth it, but cool.
Students out there, though, you can get it for $200 for the year, which is a lot of money, but it is not as bad as the full price that they charge. So
True enough. And with those games, I saw the Saints against the Eagles, and that was not exactly they kind of petered off on their whole 15 drives for 15 scoring drives, and the Eagles, they didn't look great. I think it's still evident that people can blitz Jalen Hurts as much as they want to. There was a certain replay they showed multiple times of 4 blitzers on the line of scrimmage on one side of the line. And, there's only 2 offensive linemen over there with 4 blitzers. And he's got this running back off to his side, on his left side. You'd think maybe, move him over, get some extra help. No, he just rocked with it. 4 guys on 2, and then they got beat because it was 4 guys on 2, and he got sacked.
It's what you were talking about, the Jason Kelsey problem, losing him when he's making your offensive adjustments and then just not being able to notice things and make offensive adjustments. It sucks, and it's something they're going to need to adapt to. They won the game, so ultimately it didn't really matter, but they can't operate
the Saints
like that.
The Saints, they had that great, stat basically this first 2 weeks of like, oh, they're doing so good, and Clint Kubiak's really getting them going. And I honestly think that their defense is better than their offense because their defense was trying their damnedest to keep them in this game, and their offense was the one faltering. Talk about the Packers,
Yeah.
you said.
The Packers look legit. I don't think this is a sustainable thing for them, but I think that, 2-3 weeks they can run a very simplified offense that teams don't have tape on because they've been running a more complex offense with Jordan Love, and Malik Willis can execute a simplified offense when it's with a good offensive-minded head coach. Matt LaFleur is very clearly a mastermind. Making Malik Willis
doing
look
insane
like this.
things right now. I'm not gonna really pile on to Malik Willis and say oh yeah, he was dog shit, but no one expected this from him.
No.
Bare minimum, no one expected this, and everyone expected them to drop some games without Jordan Love, and they have yet to.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an impressive showing.
they're 2-1, and in games that Jordan Love plays, they are 0-1. So clearly, he's the problem. Start Malik Willis for the year. That
Yes,
is
please.
that is my take. Just kidding,
Yeah.
joking, obviously.
And then, do you have anything that you saw from the 49ers game?
I
With the
don't.
Rams?
I was watching
Okay.
on and off, like off and on with that one, and I saw that they were ahead, and then I looked back at the score, and I swear it said 14-24, and I was like, okay, so they've got that one because it was like fourth quarter or whatever, and I thought I saw 14-24, and I looked back at it again like a couple minutes later, and I was like, that didn't say 14, that said 24. So it was tied up, and I didn't even realize it, and then it was too late by that point, and yeah.
Yeah, the Rams did not hold the lead until their game-winning kick for the entire game. And I mean, just the things that Matt Stafford, the throws he's making with the lack of an offensive line, a lacking offensive weapons because of injuries, everything is. I mean, we kind of talked about it last episode. We have a very injured team visiting a very injured team, and
Yeah.
the Rams were more injured, and that's why we kind of picked the Niners to have the edge in that game. And the Rams finally, Sean McVay finally beats Shanahan. It's been ages since the last time that happened, and they win with the worst team they've probably had like since the last time they won.
I want to give you your props because we talked last episode about who would step up in Cup and Nakua's absence, and you said sneaky Tutu Atwell, and I said, duh, it's going to be Demarcus Robinson, and you said, yeah, that makes sense, but watch Tutu Atwell.
Yeah.
We're dumb because it wasn't Demarcus Robinson, but you called the Tutu Atwell masterclass that came. I mean, masterclass, whatever. You called the
Yeah,
performance.
he did good.
He led the team in receiving yards, and I believe
Yes.
tied for receptions. So
Yeah. And he was a difference in a game that was very close, tight at the end.
absolutely.
Next on our game by game, I'm going to go over the Lions at Cardinals. This one, I picked against the Lions to win. I was just, not super confident in our ability to stop Marvin Harrison. And after the game, you see the box score, you see tweets coming out of like, oh, Terry Arnold held Marvin Harrison Jr. to this stat line. That's a little misleading because Terry Arnold also had 3 DPIs called on him in the game. So, yeah, he's not going to rack up yards when he's making sure he can't.
Yeah.
They still get the yards as an offense. It's just not, credited to Marvin Harrison. So
Yeah.
there's that to consider. Terry Arnold is definitely having a little bit of some pains in that regard of like, you could be a lot more touchy in college, and now you're not really able to be.
Yeah.
And
I think that just when watching rookie corners in general, we're kind of spoiled for it. Like we saw Pat Surtain, Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley's been really good as a young corner, and Christian Gonzalez, shout out my Patriots. Like we've been kind of spoiled with some young, talented corners entering the league, and typically that doesn't happen. I mean, like you've got big whiffs at corner. Jeff Okudah's the one that comes to mind, really, like 3rd overall pick, and he just could not get anything going in the league.
yeah,
And so I think that understanding that rookie corners are going to have mistakes and they're going to have falters is something that we just haven't been doing recently because of the elite play we've seen right out of the gates. And I don't think it's going to get any better because Travis Hunter's coming to the league next year. And I think he'll probably enter as a corner just because the market will catch up with receivers, and there are less elite corners than elite receivers. So
yeah. I think since you brought up Jeff Okudah as the Lions fan who saw Jeff Okudah and is seeing Terry Arnold, very different. Jeff Okudah was definitely a lot more of a man press kind of guy, and Terry was a lot more of like a zone run defender out that can also play, coverage. But he's clearly just getting a little too handsy on some of these, and that's kind of the issue there.
yeah,
But on the whole of the game, we didn't let Kyler run all over us like we usually do to rushing quarterbacks, and it kind of felt like the Cardinals beat themselves in a way where Kyler wasn't making his best decisions. I definitely saw several plays where there was a check down that could have gotten them yards and shortened up. It's first and 10, just get some yards. Instead, he's throwing it deep, and now it's second and 10 as opposed to a second and 6 or a second and 4. Just these kind of like minor things. And he got picked by Kirby Joseph, and he was chucking it deep into double coverage a lot. And that's him. That's Kirby Joseph. How's he in your house?
Sorry,
but yeah,
Lions,
Kirby
you're gonna have
Joseph.
to pay me for him.
Oh, you're holding him hostage now?
I
What the
am.
hell, man?
Sorry
Got his
about
10th interception of his career, and I love seeing Kirby Joseph jump those end zone balls. But it was a good game for the Lions overall. Battled through a lot of adversity with injuries throughout the game. We're going to have to be battling that for weeks to come. I'll kind of talk more about that in the injury section. But
Yeah.
you can transition us into some of your rivalry talk in
Yeah.
the AFC East.
The Dolphins don't look great this year, and it's tough too with no Tua. Obviously, it's been really telling how good he actually is with how bad they look without him. As unfortunate as it is that it took him getting hurt and being out for us to realize, hey, this guy's actually not just a game manager, he's really good. They have not held a lead in any games this year, including the one they won because they kicked a game-winning field goal as time expired. So they have not held a lead for any amount
have
of time
0
this
seconds.
year. 0 seconds in the lead.
In the lead.
And they aren't looking great. And we record on Tuesdays, so it's kind of tough for us to be super up to date with the most recent injury news and who's starting and who's hurt and who's out this week. So we don't know yet who's going to be the Dolphins starting quarterback. I hope it's Tyler Huntley because he has played as a starter in the past and looked good. Good for a backup starting, like there's a certain level of
Unexpectedly starting
Yeah.
looks good.
yeah. Whereas Skylar Thompson, you kind of know he's not. I don't want to be disrespectful to any players that are in the NFL. I will be disrespectful to Kurt Benkert, but he's out of the NFL now, and that's for a reason. And so I'll stay being disrespectful to him because he's an idiot. But with Skylar Thompson, it's not that he's bad. He's just not a quarterback who can will you to a victory in the same way that some other backups can. I think that's the best way I can put that without feeling like I'm being disrespectful. He's Blaine Gabbert on the Chiefs. I think that's who that was. Where he came in, did enough to win him the game. He's not winning you a game by starting the whole game, but he can hold off the defense at the end of the game. He's fine. That's the role that he can play. And I think they need to look towards Tyler Huntley because Tim Boyle is worse than Skylar Thompson. So get away from him and just
please, as quick as possible.
Give Snoop the
Also,
reins and start it.
With Tyler Huntley, I think if they commit to the Tyler Huntley, for at least a week of game planning, you got some fun option reads that you can run with him.
Yeah.
And it's a very fast offense. Just add a little extra speed at quarterback, and you could actually have a very different scheme for one game of the year that no one is able to use the film from.
See,
to kind of scheme for you next.
I think if they want to, they can rock with Tyler Huntley until Tua feels comfortable coming back, whether that's, as soon as his IR stint is up or if that's week 10. I think they can game plan around Tyler Huntley well enough to go 500 with him. I don't think they would be able to do that with Skylar Thompson. And I think that's what don't need to say that. It's understood. Shout out Tim Boyle for somehow having a career this long. But that's enough.
He holds the
Dolphins
clipboard
talk.
so good.
He's a great clipboard.
Sorry to
holder.
dunk on you.
He's the one that Aaron Rodgers liked, right? He's the Aaron Rodgers product.
I know nothing about that.
Is that who I'm thinking of? Hang on. Tim Boyle. If he was on the Jets last year, yes, he was. Yeah, he played in Green Bay. His college stats are atrocious. There's no reason that man should be. There's no reason he should be sniffing an NFL roster. But he was friends with Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers likes the people that he likes, and that's why Alan Lazard is the Jets' leading receiver over Garrett Wilson,
Yeah.
or close to it. But anywho, we're getting on tangents, and we need to stop. We need to get back through this. But,
Yeah. We can bang out the
on to-
next two kind of game by game recaps. I'll
yeah.
take. Which one do you want to focus?
You take this one. I'll take this one.
Works out. Good.
So on to Sunday night with the Chiefs, and I don't like watching Chiefs games. I feel like the refs always give them a lot of favorable calls. That the Pitt's non-DPI call in the end zone was atrocious. And then I just thought it was really funny that Chris Jones was like, how is that roughing? When he plays on a team with Patrick Mahomes, who you can't breathe on without getting called for roughing. So he should never be shocked to see a roughing penalty thrown, as long as he plays for the Chiefs. And I thought that was really stupid of him to react like that. Because I could spend maybe 5 minutes and compile a montage of absurd Mahomes roughing calls that happened while Chris Jones was on the Chiefs that are less roughing than what Chris Jones did to Kirk Cousins. But that is my rant.
Yeah, I think Chris Jones just kind of has a habit of complaining about the roughing calls that he gets, because there's definitely been some where, he's like made a great play, but you just let all of your body weight land on the quarterback, so that's gonna get called, and he's like, how's that? Like, come on. And there's kind of like one phrase in the rule that specifies exactly what you just did. Recognize that? But yeah, he definitely likes to complain. I'll say that much. That's why he didn't play week 1 last year. Anyways, tangents.
Yep.
Onto the Commanders Bengals. That was a very, very great primetime game. One of the few this year. I think, the Eagles last week with the Falcons, that was a good last 10 minutes of viewing. But this was like from start to finish an electric game. You were seeing big plays to Jamar Chase. You were seeing just Jaden Daniels pick apart their defense in a way that, the Bengals defense has notoriously been very good. It's been very good against Mahomes, and it's like those late ticky-tack calls at the end which set them back from winning them. And yet they cannot game plan well enough for the Commanders. Very interesting game to watch. Despite getting the pick wrong, I'll say this: there's very few picks I've made this year that I have been like upset to see go wrong. One of which was the Browns this week. That's about it. All of the other ones, I'm still happy because I'm like learning the things that the other team can do. Like, I'm being surprised by the underdogs. And the Commanders are definitely one that did that. Terry McLaurin making that catch, that touchdown catch, man, that was just like the amount of elation I felt for Terry McLaurin in that one moment. I was like, Terry. This guy has been waiting years for this one, like, accurate deep ball to just hit him right in the hands. He's not having to contort his body in a ridiculous fashion. And this was a game that set records. Jaden Daniels' completion percentage record for a rookie, along with them having the first game since 1940 to not have turnovers or punts for either team. Like, this was a certified shootout. And, you love to see it because the Bengals, they had their early woes because they always do in September. And now they're showing like, yeah, this is what our good form looks like.
I think that kind of wraps up the game by game recap that we've got for this week. So let's get into talking about these frauds and studs, the 3-0 frauds and the 0-3 studs. If any exist, we're just going to kind of go through the teams that have not lost and the teams that have not won and say, are these teams playing significantly worse than their record, or are they playing significantly better than their record? Just kind of establish, are these guys for real or not? And we'll start off with the 3-0 teams if you want to kick us off with your thoughts on the Steelers being 3-0. Shout out Justin Fields. Yeah,
shout out Justin Fields. I don't see them benching him. because why change things when you're on a 3-0 streak? If, they weren't, then yeah, try Russ out. But I don't see him really getting a benching here until he loses until he makes them go sub 500. I think that honestly, they're kind of a sneaky, like, they're not a fraud here. They play generally easy matchups for the year. They have won very heavily thanks to their defense, and the defense is what wins you championships. And they just need to kind of game manage and score on offense more than they have in the past, which they're already doing. Shout out Arthur Smith, I guess. I do not have them as a fraud, despite the fact that you wouldn't really have pegged them to be a division winner heading into the season here.
Yeah, if we're defining fraud as, you know, they won't make playoffs, I don't think they're a fraud. I think that they have an outside chance at getting a wild card berth. I don't think they'll keep up the undefeated streak. I don't know when they'll drop it.
Oh no.
But I do think it happens eventually that Justin Fields loses them a game. I think the consensus is that Fields is not the reason that they're winning, and I agree. But I think that the consensus can be both that and that he's the best option for their offense. He is providing quarterback play that is winning you games, and that bottom line is the most important thing in this league. You can't leave that. Momentum is such a huge thing, and cohesiveness is such a huge thing that moving from one quarterback to another can shift everything on an offense. If Russ prefers different receivers that aren't used to getting the ball, they can be, just unfamiliar with leading their offense, and any number of things that can happen that can make a team uncomfortable can lead to them dropping games and going on a losing streak. As well as the confidence of Fields. You have to stick up and say, you are our guy, keep doing your thing. And I think they're saying that behind closed doors. I don't think Russ's calf is hurt. Russ's calf was slightly bothering him pre-week 1. It is not still slightly bothering him post-week 3. We're not running with that. Maybe it is, but not to the point where you're not able to play. So behind closed doors, I would be shocked if the building was saying anything other than Fields is our guy. We're rocking with him until the wheels fall off. I think that's enough Steelers talk for now. We can move on to the Chiefs, which is going to be a very brief talk. They're not frauds. I mean, it's unfortunate to say it because I don't really enjoy watching them win too much. The ref play does not exactly help with that. But I'll save my ref rant for another video, as we did last year. We'll have a referee rant, I'm sure.
Yeah, we got to see more of these horrible refs to have more to refer back to when we call them trash. But I'll have to agree with you. The Chiefs are not frauds. In fact, this is probably the worst they will play throughout the year. They only ever get better. They're sitting at 3-0. It's going to be a long season.
For sure. So into the Vikings now, the next 3-0 team to talk about. This is... I'm not going to say they're frauds. I'm going to say they are a ginormous surprise to be at this point.
Yeah.
I thought they were atrocious. I'm wondering what's going to happen with JJ McCarthy, because I just don't see I don't see them not
Moving
starting
off of
Sam Darnold
play.
if it keeps up. Keyword if. There's as high of a chance as there was for him to suck at the start of the season, there's an equally high chance now that he does not continue this level of play, which we thought was very high. Ended up, that he is playing at a super high level, and perhaps he eventually gets back to his ways of not being a great quarterback. But at the moment, good offensive weapons, good offensive line, good offensive coach. I think that he's probably going to be there for the next 5 years.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's you can't call him a fraud. They're definitely a surprise stud of the year, with their defense excelling, being the second best defense so far this season, second to the Steelers, another undefeated team, and except they also have super high offensive production, unlike the Steelers. So the Vikings, they don't have great like they don't have an easy schedule, I'll say. But I think that they may even win the division because of their ability to play the defense the way they do while also having an extremely good scheme and game manager in Sam Darnold. Now, if his wheels fall off after like their bye week when they start hitting some of their harder difficulty teams, then I could see, you know, Sam Darnold's not the guy for the future, but he's definitely the guy for this year, and you're going to stick with him, and he's going to perform for you for this year and get you to the playoffs. I don't know how far in the playoffs they'll get, but I definitely see them as a playoff team at the moment. Now, onto the Seahawks. They are scary. I don't like the Lions are playing them this coming Sunday, or no, sorry, Monday. And I don't like playing the Seahawks because they always excel against the Lions, and they are a good team. Now, are they good enough to be 3-0 and not be a fraud? This is where I think we may disagree because I think that they are frauds. I do not see them ending the year off in the playoffs. I do not see them having a division title. I think that they will end up losing their conference matchups, and that will end up kind of starting their snowball into some losing games here. Now, I don't think that this is going to start happening until they, lose those in division matchups. So they're going to keep this rolling for a little bit here, but I don't think that they are on the level of any of the other teams here. Mostly because,
I
with the Chiefs, you got Mahomes. With the other teams, you have great defenses. This is kind of where those things don't align for this team.
I completely agree with you. I think they're massive frauds, actually. And I think the reasoning is something you didn't touch on, but it's their matchups. They've had, I mean, for all intents and purposes, a cakewalk of 3 games. They played week 1 rookie quarterback in Bo Nix with the Broncos at home. And then obviously there's history between the Seahawks and Broncos, and the Seahawks crushed that trade. So there's animosity there. They want to make it seem like they just obliterated the Broncos' hopes of having a future. So there's extra incentive there for them to win. They played the Patriots, who beat the Bengals week 1, but and the Patriots took them to overtime. But I don't think the Patriots are a quality team at all. So I think the Seahawks beating them is not an impressive thing to notch on your record. And then they beat the Dolphins without Tua, and the Dolphins without Tua looked god awful. It's not a testament to the Seahawks being amazing. It's a testament to the Dolphins sucking without Tua. I think that the Seahawks are in for a rough awakening when they play actual football teams, which they have not done yet. So, shout out to the Broncos for winning this week against the Buccaneers, but a week 1 rookie quarterback is much different than a week 3 rookie quarterback, despite it being very close together. Bo Nix in his first taste of NFL action was not going to be beating the Seahawks. And I think they are in for a rough awakening. Maybe not quite yet. They play the Giants in week 5. They'll have a tough one against your Lions in week 4.
Then they got the Niners, and then they have the Falcons, and then they play the Bills week 8. So, they could be sitting 4-4 by week 8. This is a fraud out of all of the ones prior.
They are, yeah. And then we can get into my Patriots division rivals, the Bills. They are absolutely not frauds. They looked amazing week 1 against the Dolphins, or no, not the Dolphins. Who did they play week 1? Oh my God. Cardinals. They looked they looked the part against the Cardinals. Then obviously, the Dolphins in week 2 was when Tua got hurt. And so it was, made sense that the Dolphins lost that game. However, the Bills were crushing them before Tua got hurt. So it's not like they were looking mediocre and then Tua goes out and you've got to, rally with no offensive firepower. And then they smoked the Jags. So they're beating more quality teams than the Seahawks, maybe not super high quality teams, but they're doing it in a fashion that is much better than the Seahawks, and then most of the other teams on this list. I mean, save maybe the Vikings, but I think the Bills have put up some of the more handed victories in this season so far.
Yeah, the Bills are with Josh Allen. Like as I said with Mahomes, like okay, even if you're not having like a top defense, and the Bills are still leading the league in net points differential. So their offense is outpacing their defense well enough for me to look over the fact that they don't have a top defense and that their opponents aren't great. But their opponents are supposed to be good. Like the Cardinals, they've shown that they can be good. That's not like they're beating up on the Panthers and the Giants or, the Tua-less Dolphins. They did for a quarter. That quarter was a game that was already decided, like you said. So Bills absolutely not frauds. And I think with that we can get into the only defeated teams, fully defeated 0-3 teams, and whether or not they are gonna be secret studs, if they're gonna sneak back up into that winning column and make a run into the playoffs, or if they are actually just bad. So I think one of these we can agree on easily, but I'll let you kick us off with the Jaguars here.
I don't think the Jaguars are 0-3 studs. I just don't. I don't think they're very good. I don't know if it's coaching, if it's Trevor. I don't know what it is, but they're just not a good football team. They fooled us for half a season in 2022 when they were leading the AFC, looking really good, but not anymore. And they will no longer be a quality team to play.
Yeah, it was 2022. They were top of the, conference, and then 2023 it was we're having a late season run, and I'm not gonna put faith that they can have another late season run. Right now they got tough competition. They are in a tough division, with the Texans and the Colts both kind of being the juggernauts to topple there, and then it's just been overall pretty bad play. So I'm looking ahead at their schedule right now, and Vikings, Eagles, Lions, like outside of the division games, Packers even, like it's hard to come up with a lot of games that they will come out of these and handedly win. So I think that they kind of just need to sit in that bad column. The defense is definitely not doing them any favors, and the offense is not doing enough to counteract the fact that they are having no favors done for them. They are the third worst offense in scoring, and they are in the bottom 5 for points allowed. So overall, it's just not a great situation. Next up, we have the, recent Monday Night Football losers, the Bengals 0-3. Under Joe Burrow, this past week is definitely the best they've looked, and heading into next week, they play the Panthers. I think that they're frauds at 0-3. They're gonna rally. Do they make the playoffs is a tougher question to answer with the teams in their division, because it's always a slugfest there. But I do think that they will inch out into the division winning. Maybe not over the Ravens, but definitely into the playoffs. So I have them as a stud at 0-3. They always start off rough in September. We've seen the stats with Joe Burrow. It's going to piece itself together eventually. It's just not going to happen in the first month of the season. So I am going to go with the Bengals being studs.
Yeah, that was my only point that I had on them is they always suck to start the year, and then there was an unexpected just offensive thrashing that they got from the Commanders last on Monday Night Football. So it's unfortunate, but it's nothing new. It's Bengals fans know that they are not a early season team. They put things together, and especially this year when Jamar Chase was in a holdout, T. Higgins was in a holdout and injured, and they just didn't have everything put together on offense until now. And now we've seen them be put together on offense, drop 30 points, and they will not be letting up 30 points every week. So I'm not concerned about them at all. They are definitely a team that is an 0-3 stud.
Yeah.
And then getting into the last defeated team, the Titans. Unfortunately, Mayo Man sucks. He's graced us with yet another wonderful picture for the week.
Yeah.
And I will continue to say the week that we don't have a picture of him to put on a thumbnail is a good week for the Titans, which has not happened yet, and I don't see it happening anytime in the near future. He's just a funny NFL quarterback. And I don't think that they will win very many games this year.
Yeah, this is definitely a 0-3 bottom of the barrel team. I think that after I believe it was after week 1 when their coach kind of called out Will Levis for sucking, signs were already there that this wasn't going to be a great culture, great organization. Not a lot of faith in the quarterback that's there, and they don't have an easy schedule. Same division as the Jags, so they got those same top dogs of the division to deal with. They aren't going to make playoffs. And I'd be shocked if they managed to have a over 500 or close to 500 record whatsoever at the end of the year.
Yeah. Then I believe it is time to get into our pick'ems. To kick off pick'ems, we got Thursday night football game between the Cowboys and the Giants. It's a divisional matchup. It is I don't know if I can call it a slugfest, but Malik Neighbors has looked amazing for the Giants, and the Cowboys have looked wishy-washy, so maybe it'll be a close game. I have learned that my brain does not pick teams correctly. So I have said, all right, What does my brain say? I'm picking the opposite, which means I'm picking the Giants, baby. Giants beating the Cowboys at home on Thursday night. Like I said, it's a divisional matchup. It's a home game. It's almost impossible to do a season sweep unless a team is truly awful. And the Giants are truly awful. However, the Browns were supposed to have a good defense, and the Giants beat them.
Yeah, Cowboys, Giants. I won't be picking the same as you because that went so well for me last week. I'm going to be going with the Cowboys here. The Cowboys kind of got slammed into the ground repeatedly by the Ravens, and they still somehow managed to make a comeback in the fourth quarter. So I have so much more faith in the Cowboys than the Giants, especially after watching the Giants play against those god-awful Browns. Man, shit show of the week was the week I decided to put shit show of the week is the game I put my lock on last week. Horrible decision by me. Moving on, we have the Saints at the Falcons. Now, the Falcons just lost to the Chiefs. We discussed it. The Chiefs are studs. And the Saints, they went ahead and lost to the Eagles. And we've discussed that as well. Don't think those Eagles are going to be super great. The Falcons I have winning this week. They're playing at home once again, and it's a division rival. The Saints are going to be, tough. But the Falcons, I think, are finding a stride with what they can do with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins looks more comfortable. I think that they might end up coming away with this as a win, so I'm picking them this week.
Yeah, I am wishy-washy on basically every single matchup this week. I'm not confident in anything anymore. And this one especially, divisional matchups are so tough to predict. But I think that the Falcons hitting their stride with a quarterback that's only getting healthier and the Saints kind of faltering kind of big time against a team that they were supposed to take advantage of a poor secondary on, and they weren't able to. Mm-hmm. I do think that the Falcons come away with this one. I had the Saints picked, and I've just thought about it again, and I think the Falcons will end up coming away with that one.
You know what happens when you think, matchup. All right, that's not very good for you. You got to knock that off.
Hey, I'm going to do it anyways, so I'm just going to have to live with the consequences. And you know what? You picked the Falcons too, so you're going to have to live with the consequences of my thinking.
No! All right. Kick us off with the Bengals-Panthers here.
Yeah. Get off of my sheet. Get out of here.
I guess since I clicked into it last. Gotcha.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Then we head into Carolina, where the Bengals will be taking on the Panthers. I think this one's a pretty easy selection of the Bengals. This is where they turn things around. Andy Dalton looked strong for the Panthers, but I think deep down I knew, and that's something that I pointed out last time, was that I picked the Raiders, but I said it was on upset watch, if we could call it that, with a Raiders game. And I think that the Bengals will just do better than the Raiders did against the Panthers. So
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty easy selection of the Bengals there.
Yeah, I'll be agreeing with you there. The Panthers, they have new life with Andy Dalton. However, the Bengals are 0-3. They are hungry for a win, and I think that this is the game that they'll go ahead and come up with it. Next on the Rams visiting Chicago. I've got the Rams taking this one. I mean, I just saw what they did against the 49ers. This is the Bears, who have offensively been not lackluster, is what we'll call it. Very lackluster on offense. And I think that the Rams, with Matt Stafford being the signal caller, the conductor of that engine, it's going to go Rams here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I got the Rams over the Bears. It is tough to say. The Bears are starting to put things together, and it's kind of scary to see. And eventually, I do think that that Caleb Williams will get things figured out, and the Bears will start to look good. But it is hard to bet against the Rams after they're coming off of a victory over the 49ers, so I will be sticking with them. And then we get to Green Bay with the division rival Vikings visiting the Packers. This is one that I have not made my selection on yet. I am going to put a caveat on this one. I think that if Jordan Love goes, Packers win. If Jordan Love does not go for a third straight week, I'm picking the Vikings. So my pick is hinging on Jordan Love starts, I pick Packers. Malik Willis starts, I'll pick the Vikings. I don't think Malik Willis will go 3-0. As talented as he is, I think the Vikings defense is just something else. And their offense is playing at a very high level right now, where the Packers defense maybe hasn't been quite as much. So preemptively, I'm going to pick the Vikings, but if Jordan Love plays, I'll swap it to the Packers.
Then you know what? I'll match you. If you're putting a caveat on it, I'll put the same caveat on it. I had the Vikings, and if Jordan Love's come back, I do think that the Packers have an edge there. The Vikings have played really well against really good teams and really good quarterbacks, but I do think that it's going to have a point where it's going to end. So it could end next week if Jordan Love goes. Then one of the teams we said was a certified dud, not a stud at 0-3. Certified dud, we got the Jaguars taking on the Texans. Easy pick for me to take the Texans here. They just got their ass handed to them by the Vikings. They want a get-back game, and it's going to be a get-back game against a division rival. They're going to want this. This is going to help them in, long-term division standings. I got the Texans here.
Yeah, this is a week with a lot of divisional matchups, and I agree with you. Texans over Jags for sure. I guess throw this one on upset watch if we're picking an upset watch game every week, just because the Texans showed how they can be beaten last week against the Vikings, and if the Jaguars are smart, they're not. But if they were, they would look at that game and they would realize, hey, let's do what the Vikings did. But again, they're not smart. They won't do that. So Texans, for sure,
they don't
over
have
the Jaguars.
The guys to do what the Vikings did, but
True.
They do have Josh Allen.
True. They do have Joshua Hines Allen. Don't get it twisted. They do not have Josh Allen, unfortunately. If they did, they'd be 3-0. Clearly.
And then you're introing Steelers Colts.
Wow. Can we franchise tag to sleep at the wheel moments? Can we have that again? Anywho, Steelers visiting the Indianapolis Colts. I think that the Steelers continue their undefeated streak. I think the hype train keeps rolling. I also think this prediction is going to be wrong, but in the past, I've been incorrect when I think that I am going to be correct. So That's my reasoning for leaving this one on the Steelers over the Colts. I do think the Colts need a get-back game, and this is a very possible one. But Anthony Richardson has shown his flaws, and I think the Steelers' defense can capitalize on them.
All right. See, Steelers, great defense. You picked them to win, so I have to go Colts. That's my only. I was thinking I had the Steelers selected, and then you were like, "I'm gonna go Steelers," and I was like, "Can't do that. Can't do that." So I'm gonna be taking the Colts. I think Anthony Richardson, he's very wishy-washy. We'll say, and it's gonna be a really tough game. But he's on the Colts. They have a good defense as well. It'll be a low-scoring bout, and I think that he might just come away with one of those crazy throws that he makes on a week-to-week basis, and that will be the deciding factor. So I'm going to go with the Colts in this week. And then next up, we have the Broncos visiting the Jets. It's hard because I just saw the Broncos dismantled the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers looked good prior to that, and then the Jets this past week looked really good. And they're going against, Pat Surtain, and they're going to have their hands full on defense.
I saw you hop on my sheet and see what I picked just to pick against me. I know you did that.
I honestly, that was just brain dead. I'm swapping around things because my brain's active and I got to do something on my computer to do it. But I am going to do that, all right? I am going to go ahead. And I'm going to switch my thinking from taking the Jets. I think defense wins this game for the Broncos. I'm going to go Broncos for this week.
Yeah. Just in case it wasn't clear, I'm taking the Jets in this one. I do think that they are similar defenses where they've got maybe a questionable edge rush, but a stud lockdown number one corner. And CB1 discussion is always, is it Sauce, is it Surtain? So I think this will be a heck of a matchup to watch, and I just think that there will be rookie mistakes made by Bo Nix that Aaron Rodgers won't make, and I think Aaron Rodgers is finally getting back to his MVP form. I think it only makes sense that the Jets are able to take care of the Broncos at home, especially.
Yeah, hey, I agree with everything you just said. However, you picked the Jets, so I got to pick the Broncos.
I agree with everything you just said. However, you said it. Anywho, we're heading down to Florida to Tampa, where the Eagles will be taking on the Buccaneers. This is another one of those that is just a complete wishy-washy toss-up for me, and in those, I typically lean home team, so I'm going to be taking the Buccaneers in this one. They're both coming off of games that maybe weren't so glamorous for them. The Buccaneers getting beat by the Broncos, the Eagles barely squeaking out a win. It is very, very feasible that the Eagles win this game, likely even. However, Bucs at home, coming off a bad loss, they need to prove something, and the Eagles DBs are not great, and the Bucs receivers are great. So I'll lean towards just the very basic, this player good, this player bad. Pick team good player. So that's my caveman logic, and we'll see if it works this week.
I'll match your caveman logic because I think the Buccaneers have a great. I think the Buccaneers have a great D-line, great run-stopping team. Eagles have had to feed Saquon to be their. What are you doing? Are you dying still?
I tried to keep a straight face. I couldn't do it.
The Eagles are going to run their offense through Saquon. I don't think they'll be able to do that very well. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, both, got their injury questions. I'm going to go Buccaneers here. And then I'm pulling a U here because leading off into our next matchup, the Commanders at Cardinals. This is one I did not go ahead and pick my PickEms for. And I think, honestly, with everything I've seen, this is going to be a great game. And I think I'm going to give the edge to the Commanders.
Interesting.
The defenses are non-existent for both of these teams, I do want to say. Like, Budda Baker, great. I'll give him his credit. Other pieces on both of these defenses have a lot to figure out. The Cardinals will be able to throw the ball all over them. The Commanders will be able to throw the ball and run the ball pretty effectively. I think that this is going to probably be down to the wire. And, actually, I'm flipping my pick right now. I'm going to go Cardinals in this one due to the air raid, due to Kyler Murray and his X Factor ability. That's what I'll do.
Yeah, I've got the Cardinals in this one, so maybe you shouldn't have flipped your pick, but I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to go nuclear. I think he's in for 10 catches, 300 yards. I think that's the kind of game he's in for. He had, I mean, rookies in general take time to put things together. Week 1, he had his 1 catch, shame. Then week 2, he had 4 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter and didn't log a catch after that. This past week, solid enough week from him. I don't remember the exact stat line, but I think that week 4 is when we see him at full form, taking advantage of a horrific secondary that, again, we were talking about it earlier, they have led up like more than 20 fantasy points to every single wide receiver one that they have faced. I forget what the absurd name on that list is, but it's like
Brandon Johnson?
Brandon Johnson, I think is who. I don't even know who
Yeah.
the fuck that is. Shout out Brandon Johnson, I guess, but I have no idea who that is. Hold on. Oh, he's the Broncos receiver that popped off the 1 week they played the Commanders last season.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Shout out Brandon Johnson.
funny.
Did not mean to forget who
Shout
you
out
were,
Brandon Johnson.
especially because I knew who you were at one point. So, shouts out. And then we head to San Francisco 49ers taking on the Patriots. This is one where I am going to be taking the 49ers. Seems like every time I pick against the Patriots, it doesn't go well for the pick. And as a Patriots fan, that means I will be picking against the Patriots in every single game this year. If it costs me one correct selection every week on PickEms, clearly going 6-10 last week, one more incorrect guess isn't going to do me any wrong, or do me that badly. So it is what it is.
I'll
Go
agree
Niners.
with you. I'll agree with you. The Niners over the Patriots. And moving on to the Chiefs taking on the Chargers at SoFi, which is effectively going to just be another Chiefs home game because that's how SoFi works. This is going to go to the Chiefs. Derwin James is suspended for this game, and we had Justin Herbert exit last week with a retweak of his ankle, so he will, if he plays, be once again on a weak ankle. So, Chiefs in this one.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Chiefs over Chargers for sure. Derwin James got suspended for 1 game, just the Chiefs game. So, yet another ploy by the league to give the Chiefs an easier victory. Clearly, and for that reason and that reason alone, I will be selecting the Chiefs. But any Uzis into Vegas, another division rival of the Chiefs and Chargers, division rival matchup, division rival weekend, where the Browns, evidently not a division rival of the Raiders, will be taking on the Raiders. And I can never believe in the Browns. I think I'm subscribing to your theory of never picking the Browns to win a game because that's
Never
just
picked for the
easier.
Browns. Mm-hmm.
The Raiders just lost to the Panthers. And as damning of evidence as that may be, I don't think they dropped one to the Browns a week after. And I think that they gotta put something together. And I know they've had some kind of issues with Devontae Adams maybe not wanting to play there anymore, and he just got Luke Getsy as an offensive coordinator with no real stellar quarterback play, so I can't say I blame him, but I think that they'll put something together this week for him.
Yeah, I will agree with you there. Never picking the Browns. Gonna go Raiders. Keep it simple as that. And moving on. Bills at Ravens. This one is Sunday Night Football. This one, I just mentioned the stomping, the absolute banging into the ground. The Ravens did to the Cowboys for the first 3 quarters. And then the Bills did the same to the Jaguars for the first 3 quarters. And then they let up a touchdown. Big whoop. I am leaning towards, love the Ravens. Fantasy team, heavily predicated on the Ravens.
That's backwards.
And
Shit. Game of the week.
I like the aggressive throw you had on that. This is gonna be game of the week for sure. The two quarterbacks dueling here is, marquee enough. And then you have the rest of the teams, Derrick Henry, and just the way that the Bills has been gelling as a team overall. I'm going to actually be going with the Bills here. I like the Ravens a lot. The Ravens are playing at home, but I think that if it is a close game and the Ravens aren't able to feed Derrick Henry, it's going to look a lot more like Chiefs Ravens week 1 than it did Ravens Cowboys. So that's the way I'll swing for this one.
Yeah, I'm taking the Ravens in this one. I do think that the Ravens have shown a lot more weakness than the Bills especially in losing football games, which the Bills have not done. However, I also think it's extremely difficult for teams to go undefeated, and we're seeing less and less teams make a stretch of going undefeated. So we got to see some of them drop soon. That's just a trend that's been going on, and I think it'll continue to happen here. Maybe the Bills pull this one out, but I think that they are in for a tough one, and I think that Josh Allen is due for some turnovers that he hasn't really had yet this season. Ravens at home, I think that they'll run the ball early.
Good defense too.
Good defense. Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, all them boys. Roquan, shout out. But I'm taking the Ravens in that one. I just gut feeling, and it's been wrong in the past for basically this entire season. But I've been pretty good at picking the later matchups, just basically over my entire PickEms career. So I'm going to stay with my gut in the later matchups, and I'll take the Ravens there. And then we head back down to Florida. Second game in Florida, this one in Miami, where the Titans visit the Dolphins. And we briefly talked about it earlier, who we think should be the starter for the Dolphins. And I really think it should be Tyler Huntley. I think with a week plus in the system now, he's probably better off than Skylar Thompson is for the team. And I think they end up starting him.
It's another caveat game?
And I think, now that you say that, no, I'm gonna just take the Dolphins. I don't believe in the Titans at all, and I think that I'm confident enough that Tyler Huntley will start that I'm not even gonna put a caveat on it. That I'm just gonna say Tyler Huntley's starting.
Fair enough.
And when he is not starting this week, when they say Skylar Thompson is hurt and Tim Boyle is going to be the starter, then I'm going to look like a fool. And you can call me out then, especially when it happens before we release the episode. But up until then, I will say Tyler Huntley, starter for the Dolphins. They are taking that one.
Yeah, I think, we saw the Dolphins be so bad last week, but the Titans have looked so bad the first 3 weeks. So Dolphins are going to be my pick here as well. And then that leads to the second, the doubleheader. We had Monday Night Football, Titans and Dolphins. Now we have Monday Night Football, Seahawks at Lions. This is going to be at Ford Field. I am going to, as much as I want to pick the Seahawks, just because last week I picked against the Lions and the Lions won, I am going to hope that picking the Lions is not a jinx. And I'm going to pick the Lions in this one. We called out the Seahawks for being frauds, and the Lions have had very tough matchups and grinded entire games, and they fell short of one, and I think that they're going to look to get 3-1 for the record this weekend.
Yeah, unfortunately for your Lions, I'm also picking them. It is not a good look when FTP Anderson picks you to win a game, because you're probably going to lose it.
Yeah.
But I will be taking the Lions in this one. I do think the Seahawks are frauds. I think the Lions can dissect them. I know that last time that I remember watching them play, Reek Woolen outran, I think TJ Hawkinson was still there, so that was a long time since I've actually watched a Seahawks-Lions game. But Reek Woolen outran whoever was running the out route and snagged the ball. It was a really nice interception. But regardless, I do think the Lions pulled that one out. I think they're just the better overall football team than the Seahawks, despite having a worse record. And
yep. With that, we can wrap.
Yeah, that is all the pick'ems for this week.
That's another week where we didn't do fucking talk about Spotify at the start.
Week.
Yeah.
Got to make our locks, baby. Here at Franchise Tagged, we are not locksmiths. We don't pick locks. We lock picks, or something is what I said. I am eeny, meeny, miny, mo, going to pick the... Do you have a lock? Do you have one primed, locked and loaded, ready?
Do I have
you?
one primed? I do not have one primed, locked, and ready, but I will go ahead and drop my lock. Hold on, I have to make sure I haven't locked this team before. All right, I have not locked this team before. I'm going to go ahead and lock on the Rams at Bears.
Okay. I am going to go ahead and lock the Bengals over the Panthers. It is a lock that is not necessarily an obvious one, just because, Bengals faltered a little bit and have not won a game yet. And the Panthers have. Looking strong. But Bengals need to turn it around. They're going to go ahead and take this one. And now we can wrap this puppy up. Again,
you don't wrap puppies. Please, disclaimer: do not wrap your puppies. Make sure they are in an aerated box when you gift them for Christmas. Disclaimer: this is not gifting advice. I think I've covered us legally. You can now outro escape.
Anywho, thanks for watching. This has been a disaster of a season, of an episode, of a podcast, all of it. It's all great. Leave your comments down in the comment section below. Wow, shocker. Don't leave them in the description. Leave them in the comments.
That's where you put them.
It's where you put them. Let us know your thoughts on the thumbnails. If somehow you're able to see both of them, let us know which one you prefer, or let us know which one you saw. Just to kind of give us that interaction. If we have two of them. If we don't, then we're going to look foolish because everybody's just going to say, oh, we saw this one. And the other one didn't exist. Oh, you.
We saw this one.
With that, deuces.
Deuces.
There we go. Woo!